Welcome, everybody, to our podcast. This is our podcast on King Henry IV, Part 1. In this podcast, we'll be talking about the topic of honor and what honor means to us and honor that takes place in the book. Here with me today, we have Jared Duckman
Hey,
and Callum Fraser.
hello.
Would anyone like to start off by talking about an example in the book that has to do with what we're talking about here?
Yeah, I'll start off with talking about the contrast between Hal and Hotspur. So I'd like to start out with this quote from Act 5, Scene 1. Uh, it's Hal talking about how he wants to challenge Hotspur in a one-on-one battle. So I do not think a brave old gentleman, more active, valiant, or more valiant young, more daring or more bold, is now alive to grace this latter age with noble deeds. For my part, I may speak it to my shame. I have truant to been to chivalry, and so I here doth account me to. Yet this before my father's majesty, I am content that he shall take the odds of his great name and estimation, and will, to save the blood on either side, try fortune with him in a single fight.
Okay, would you like to elaborate on what you mean by what this quote has to do with anything?
Yeah, so this shows that Hal is very honorable because, or at least trying to prove his honor back, because before this, in the beginning of the play, Hal was always at the pub with his friends, drinking and getting into trouble, and he he's basically lost his father's trust. So by requesting a 1v1 with Hotspur, he's basically trying to gain his father's trust back, and this shows that he's an honorable person.
I mean, yeah, it shows how confident he is. Also, it shows how far he's willing to go, and because clearly they have the upper hand in this fight, and it shows how far he's willing to go to save his men. So I believe that's huge altogether. And there's no better way to demonstrate your honor, I guess, to a kingdom, especially to your people.
And also, it also shows that clearly that Hal, since he's an honorable person, it leads to him surviving and Hotspur dying, right? So that shows that Hal, well, it shows that honor does not lead to death, and not being honorable does, right?
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, it's one way of putting it, or I guess in this situation. But I mean, it also doesn't happen during that same battle, as Blunt is completely honorable to his kingdom, actually dressing in the king's clothes to try to get, I guess, himself killed instead of the king. Something that was very common back then, and unfortunately, that did lead to his death, which I think is, I guess, contrast to what happened uh, like, to Hotspur.
well,
I
Jared, I think I think this shows that he's also very honorable, Blunt. It's basically like the same idea as going to war. Like you're going to serve for your country, and Blunt is risking his life dressing up as a king to basically die for his king. So it just shows how honorable he is.
I mean, for sure, but he took it all the way. I believe, like, that's over the top. He didn't back down. He was not afraid to say, yes, I'm the king, and he fought the battle, which I thought was huge.
Yeah.
right. So here in this situation, we can see that in one, honor leads to death, and in the other, honor does not lead to death, which is pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, well, I think there's it's life or death, and here I can bring up a different perspective of honor, which is Falstaff. So there's a quote that reads, "If your father will do me any honor, so if not, let him kill the Percy next himself. I look to be either earl or duke, I can assure you. This means that Falstaff thinks that honor is about getting rewarded for good actions, which is why he thinks a real idea of honor is stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I
So,
can elaborate that. When he actually makes people pay him not to go into battle, which I think is crazy. I mean, in his defense, he believes that's honorable. He believes he's being honorable by doing that, and he says he makes a lot of money. He makes. Here's the quote: "If I be not ashamed of my soldiers, I am Soust Gurnet. I have misused the king's press dominably. I have got in exchange of 150 soldiers 300 and odd pounds. I press me none but good householders, ye mon's sons, incure me out contracted bachelors, such as had been asked twice on the bands, such of committedly of warm slaves." I hope I didn't butcher that too badly.
yeah, I can see what you're saying here, Jared, where you think that Hotspur is, or excuse me, not Hotspur, Falstaff is talking about how he's not being, or he is being honorable in this situation. But I would like to bring back the fact that Callum stated that Falstaff's view on honor is about getting rewarded, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which well, I guess shows here that the point where you made how he thinks he's not being honorable by getting these people to pay him to not go to war. It shows that that's only because his view on honor is different than everyone else's,
yeah, for sure.
which is why he thinks honor is just a word and something that people shouldn't really be taking seriously.
For sure. To elaborate on that, I mean, he is being rewarded in this case. So, like through money, as seen in the quote I've said before. So I guess in his mind, he is completely being honorable.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think this kind of like this like mini discussion here takes it into real life. So I'm just saying, like, I I believe that honor determines somebody's personality. So like Falstaff in the book, he's not honorable, obviously. Like he goes drinking and like steals things from people, and he also made people pay to get out of fighting, like pretty much just so he could get money. So he's pretty much a bad person. And if he were honorable, he would have done none of these things when you think about it. So what I'm saying is, since he has a distorted vision of honor, it pretty much directly contrasts with his personality. So I'm saying somebody needs to have honor to be a good person, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
I,
I mean,
yeah,
the def-
I would definitely agree with that that point. Yeah.
I'd say the definition of honor is for sure in the eye of the holder. I mean, I'd say honor is a pretty big word, and I guess a lot of people could have very different views and beliefs.
Thanks for listening, guys. Just to sum up everything, we talked about the contrast between Hal's honor to his father in Hotspur. We also talked about Falstaff's honor and why we think uh, and how it's important that Falstaff's view on honor is different than everyone else's, and that's why he is not an honorable person. And we also talked about Blunt's honor on how that got him killed. Um, I'm pretty sure that's it, guys. Do you guys have anything else to add
I
before
think that's
we end it?
I mean, stay inside, but okay,
yeah, be safe.
Yeah, be safe. Wash your hands, of course.
of course. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.